Prideful Creations, written by Ash Spark. "I'll bet you think that's gonna work," said a voice. I glared up at the patronizing old mare sitting on a rocking chair next to me. "Yeah, excuse me, but I think I know what I'm doing." I rolled my eyes, using the most sardonic tone I could muster. I certainly didn't want some old mare telling me what I was doing wrong just now. I imagine my words were like whips, cooing the creature before me. All the creature did was looked up and smiled. "I know that platform ain't secure. That there ramp you set up is supported at the base, sure, but as soon as you get to the end of it, it'll slide off those logs you shoved under it." Granny Smith smiled some more. Her fake teeth shifted slightly in her wrinkled jaw. It wasn't as gross as some of the other old ponies I've seen around Ponyville, not that she wasn't just as lame. I only looked because I wanted to find something to insult her with. I spent hours making this ramp. It was a beautiful thing. Smooth, warped plywood. I found it draped against some old building in town. It was the perfect slope, a latticework of lumber that I handpicked from a pile of firewood just wasting outside one of the apple barns. All carefully laid to make sure the whole structure would be supported. And to top it all off, I even sanded down the start so my scooter would flow seamlessly from the path to the ramp. I was certainly proud of it, and Granny Smith was belittling my great achievements. "I'll ask again, what would you know about it?" I fumed. I had her cornered with my elegant debating skills. I was certain of it. Her smile soon flopped into a disapproving glance. "I'm an apple, young missy. Back in my heyday, I built all these barns on my lonesome." She leaned forward, her wispy white hair clinging to its original placements as he dragged along for the ride. "And I built them to last." She was no longer looking at me at this point. Instead, her gaze was focused on something only the delusional see. Memories, if I'm remembering the right word. "You see this chair I'm sitting on?" She gestured at the rocking chair currently holding her slanderous rump. "I made this chair with my own two hooves. It lasted decades." I looked at her chair. It wasn't that impressive, I think. "It was old before you were born." Granny Smith began to cackle and rock more severely. "The short of it is, missy, I know my ins and outs of building, and you want to know what's wrong with that thing you have there?" She grinned stupidly, the flesh around her eyes crinkling and folding like thin metal. I didn't want to know what was so wrong with my beautiful ramp. In fact, the mention of the mere possibility sent me something. "Nothing's wrong with it!" I yelled. "When I go over this, it'll hold me perfectly. You'll see, old grandma." I got a bit heated there. It's not like I'm going to apologize about it, if that's what you're expecting. She was an old grandma, after all. It's in her name. You can try, Vlak. She leaned back into her chair, the wood paneling of her porch creaking slightly. Her face was as smug as a naive kitten's. I was trying real hard to keep my cool. "Yeah? And what do you think's going to happen? If there's one thing I pride myself on, it's my iron wit and snappish response when arguing. That and building ramps. And my scooter skills." The mare looked down her snout at my ramp, judging it like a hypocrite she was. "Oh, well, let's see here." She began a full-on scrutiny of my ramp, nodding her head and muttering the whole time, as if she was trying to make what she was doing in any way glamorous. "If you were going to jump on it from straight up to down, you wouldn't have any problem. Unfortunately, you'll be going up the ramp, meaning the momentum you have will carry through into the side of the structure." She nodded her head with a sense of finality. "It doesn't seem to have any support for that. It'll be like a building design without earthquakes in mind. It'll get shaken apart like them buildings do." "Who cares about you with your earthquakes?" I kicked off and practically flew up the hill. Once I got a fair distance away, I looked back at my glorious ramp. From my perspective, it was like the path melded perfectly into the wood and gently curved upward, which was the greatest incline for any reason or occasion. I could see the old mare scoot her rickety old rocking chair up and down, so she could see the epicness of what I was about to do better. I began my descent. The air began to tear my mane. I propelled myself forward with my wings, the action smooth and practiced. I wanted to go faster, but I restrained myself. I just thought it would be good to make the trial of my stupendous ramp. Enough to get some air, but not so much that I couldn't appreciate the subtle nuances I invested in my creation. I was nearly there. Everything started to slow down. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see Granny Smith, her wrinkled eyes and expectant as they followed my path to glory. They were trying to make me doubt my fate, make me stay away from my destiny. I will not let that happen. I hit the ramp. I saw the wheels glide from the path to the wood. Not even a bump was felt through my board. The only reason why I could tell was its subtle difference in texture. That, and also I could see it. I was almost there! I was about to hit the apex of the incline, the point where my momentum will send me up and flying, where I can defy gravity in that silly old mare, where I would finally achieve my true purpose! Suddenly, I felt a terrible shift through my scooter. A slight nuance that warned me a split second before the impossible happened. That perfectly placed plying of lumber shifted forward, and lacking the support of their brethren I placed purposely underneath them to shift me through off balance. I fell backwards, just as my board shot forward, propelled by the force of my speed to achieve a flight that was so wrongfully taken from me. My back hit the plywood. The shock of it was through my entire body, only barely proceeding when my head hit on it. Thanks to a pile of random logs underneath the ramp, the sheet of wood was able to give, preventing any permanent harm other than a headache. But it didn't end there. Oh no, the catastrophe brought yet another tragedy. The board I laid upon, dazed as I was still an incline. My weight normally would have been able to keep it still, but underneath this board was a multitude of logs, perfectly suited for the purpose of rollers. They instantly began to send me down the slope on my improvised sled. As soon as the last one passed out from the end of the wood, there was a relieving scraping sound, the scream of wasted potential, as my once proud ramp slid across the unforgiving stones in the path. It finally stopped, after a slow decrease in speed. But was my torment over? Far from it. I looked up toward the spot where it all went wrong, and there sat a mare. She was roaring with laughter at my failed dreams. She shook and shuddered with gales of mirth. They soon tore it out from her throat and shook apart my depression, replacing it with fury. I felt true hatred there. Nothing in my life had ever prepared me for the rage I felt at this moment. Suddenly, the rocking chair she sat upon, rocking and reeling from the force of her cackles, collapsed. Each side of the chair snapped its legs, leaving the mare unsupported. The mare fell down with a yelp and a thunderous clattering, leaving her like a turtle on his back, surrounded by the ruins of his pride, burning in the sweet frames of irony. I was shocked. You could barely hear the echoes of her laughter in the distant apple trees. The sound was quickly drowned out by her groan of pain. She slowly sat up, looking at the destroyed chair she still sat on with bewilderment and loss, rubbing at her wispy head with one hoof. I have forgotten my anger. It gave way to a tidal wave of laughter that sent me to the ground again. I may have felt bad about it if it wasn't for the fact that she had laughed at me first, and after that, I could still hear her laughter in the background. The end. Hello, Ravi Pony. Snogwritts here. Hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, be sure to leave a like. And if you haven't already, subscribe for more readings like this one every Saturday. Alright, that's it for me. This is Snogwritts, signing out.